Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Starting Over. I'm Gretchen.
I'm Camille. Nice to see y'all.
We're so happy that y'all are here. In case you're joining us for the first time, our podcast is really about
Starting over.
helping people start over. Not with necessarily the big stuff, with just your mind, your thoughts.
Yep.
And
Your
some
mood.
actions, your mood. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're going through your day and it's like not going your way and you're having arguments with people or you feel like you're speeding and on adrenaline overload, pull back, just go slow down, and start over.
Yeah. And so really the control that you want in your life is in your thought processes, not reacting to just however things are happening to you, but actually having a plan and knowing, I don't like how that feels. How can I change that? How can I turn that around?
Yeah. And how can you be conscious in the moment? It's really about maintaining your presence and your ability to choose your response instead of being reactive.
Absolutely. Because how many times do we just
Autopilot.
we just do and most of the time it's on a habit.
Oh, yeah.
It's from a habit, and so really a belief is just a thought you keep thinking over and over and over and over and over again.
That's right.
But you can change those, and that's what we're here today. We want to talk about competition.
Yes. Well, and I think the biggest competition is ourselves or our own measures, our past, right? So when we compete with other people, it tends to feel like we maybe can't win because I can look at so many people and compare myself to them. And when I have clients do that, it's like, how far does that get you?
Right.
It doesn't get you very far.
Yeah.
So if you're comparing yourself to how you were yesterday, and I do this with my clients. I had a gentleman, a married couple I've been seeing for about 6 months, and he's got a bad temper. He will admit he's got a horrible temper. And he says, isn't there a time when I should really be mad and lose my temper? I said, maybe if someone's trying to kill you or your family or something, yeah. But not when the house is a mess or your wife is late or, when you let that take you over and now you've lost your power, you've lost yourself, you now are owned by that experience.
And I think when we have those moments where we are nothing but emotional,
Yes,
especially the negative emotions, we do lose all, like you've disconnected.
Yes.
The emoji we talk about with the praying hands of God or your source or whatever you want to call it. When we get into a negative state, we're pulling away, so we have no guidance.
that's right.
We're literally just reacting.
Yeah.
And usually when we react, we don't have a good outcome. That's when things are said, or that's when vengeance takes place, or jealousy, or those kind of things. That really, what Camille's trying to say is, you don't have to prove yourself wrong or right to somebody else. If we really all could just get to a part where we're not, it's not that game. It doesn't matter. I was listening to a conversation with a father and a daughter the other day, and I know my kids have been this way at times. It's like the last word.
Oh, yeah.
Just needs to have
Gotta say the last thing.
one little, just that it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter.
No.
And I think when we can be in a relationship with ourselves and then with others where we are not constantly trying to prove our right,
Yeah.
or prove they're wrong,
Yeah.
then we can be authentic.
Yeah.
Because when we're on that defense or that justification loop, we've pulled away from who we really are.
Well, and isn't it the people that are the most reactive, they're the most personalized, right? I mean, when this guy's got this really bad temper and he's yelling at something, he's out of control because he's somehow making that mean something about him. He's taking something personal, and he's right. He's got this. He wants to convince me there's a time when I should be mad. Actually, no, not with children and your wife. I mean, no, probably not. He can't. He just can't get that. So
Because he's still in that, it's justified.
ego. He's got an ego. Yes,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
ego's running.
Yeah.
And this is where we all battle is our egos. And he does want to win. He does want to be right. But I said, how many years have you pounded her in the ground? 15 years, okay? And she's ready to leave because she just can't take the criticism anymore. But he thinks he's right. Without order, we will die. He's just got all these, axioms, these precepts about, control and order. And that's how he maintains self-control. But for me to work on him, he's coming in alone now. And she's like, waiting to see if she's going to divorce him. But really, people that lose their equanimity, you lose your balance with this. And if something's gripped you that bad that you're losing control emotionally, you're out of control. You're not in control.
Absolutely not. Because you think about it, I mean, just like with an animal.
Yes.
You know, if you have a pet and you're screaming or you're
Yeah.
throwing things or whatever, what does that pet do?
Well,
Pulls
even
away.
plants, people, pets,
Yeah.
everything.
Everything that
shrivels.
has an energy, it just does. It backs away because that's not what is familiar or what we want.
That's right.
And I think too, it tends to be easy. I know you've experienced this with a lot of your clients. It tends to be easier to focus on I want to prove my point.
Yeah.
I need to be heard. I need to be understood. I need you to understand why I say, do, or think these things.
Yes.
Whether it's serving the relationship or you or not, it doesn't matter. I think sometimes we just get into a state that we just need to be right.
Yes. And I'm the hammer, you're the nail, and I'm going to win. And people that win at all cost, they have to win at all cost, they usually end up alone.
Yeah.
Just saying, because there's no real relationship there.
I know even with my own kids, you know, do I want to prove right?
Yeah.
And push them away? Even in my mind, if I think, well, I'm the parent and I know I've lived more life, whatever, that just, you know, especially adult kids, it doesn't work that way.
No.
It just doesn't. And I think we as people, we don't like to be told what to do.
No one does.
Right? We just, you know, we kind of put up a guard big time, but with that, we want to figure things out on our own. So what's the message with a couple, whether it's a relationship couple or business couple? What's the message, Camille, that can help people have that boundary, but also have respect for themselves and the other person?
Well, it has to be in the dynamic of the relationship where one person, like the woman, has tolerated this for way too long. So, you know, she feels like the victim, but I say you've chose that role, and he would be hard to fight all the time. So people like this are difficult to fight, but there has to be a mutual understanding that to move forward in the future, we have to create a different dynamic, and that dynamic has got to be more equal and more respectful.
Right.
And so what I worked out with this couple, for example, is if he's going to lose his mind, lose his temper, he gets to walk away, and she's not going to block the door or chase him. She's done that before. So we create some sort of strategy on how you're going to maintain your composure. And if you do make a mess and you say something hurtful, you clean it up immediately. So there's got to be an accountability for that. And usually people, they tend to keep growing this way, and they get better and better because it's kind of been stopped. We talk about it, slow down. You come into your individual work to see why you have this pressure inside of you, things have to be perfect or whatever that is, and you work that through. But it's not easy. It's not like I'm just going to snap my fingers, it'll be done. These are long-time habits that people have.
Exactly, and it's familiar. Our body reacts because it's familiar. It's what it knows.
That's right.
And so, you know, just as we create a habit and we cement that habit due to longevity of whatever the belief or thought is, it can be undone. And I think, you know, the biggest thing isn't necessarily undoing something because you want that other person to feel better. The biggest reason should be because you don't feel in control. You don't feel love. You don't feel loving. You know, you pulled yourself away from all of the positivity and the good of who you are. And you're kind of out floating without any direction. And that just intrinsically, as humans, we don't like that.
No.
We don't like that no control or, you know, any of that kind of stuff. So, you know, we used the word earlier, competition, but that's not necessarily what we mean, because to compete, usually there has to be a winner. You already are that. You already are that. But, you know, to take ownership of what you need to change, I need to change, Camille, whatever, leaves the other person out. It doesn't hold them as the blame for something that's not going right,
or the credit. And you're right. People have to change because they choose to change. You can't. He can't change just to keep the marriage. He's been saying, "I'll change. I'll fix this. I want to save this." He's got to change because he knows he needs to change. He's ready for that.
And it needs to happen because it makes sense to you.
Right. You see it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you can't, you know, we've all been in situations where somebody does something for the sake of somebody else, but it turns out to be ingenuous because it's not a priority for them. It
won't last. It doesn't last. Yeah.
Right.
Getting sober for someone else doesn't last. You have to hit the point, and these people have been separated, but people have to pull back. And I say take it slow. Start with one topic when you're going to have a conversation about it, and you know, just keep focused on one conversation. So one topic in the conversation, because if not, you'll get all in the weeds.
Yes.
And it goes kaboom.
Do you remember in 2002 when you did? Yeah. Yeah. And I really think that actually is that point right there, Camille, is something else that needs to be really thought about is, can you let go of past hurts? Because when we bring things up continuously, when we are on the defense, you just have like totally broken all that trust of emotional trust, because the person then feels like, I can never get away from my mistake, or I can never be forgiven, or whatever that is. And I think if we live in the now, we never need to bring up the past.
Right.
We never need to bring up the always, nevers, all of these words that sometimes, especially from the person that is really trying and they feel like they're not being seen or being heard, that they are trying, simply based on somebody, you never do this, you always do this, whatever that is.
Well, and when people do that, again, let me remind you of how bad you are and keep you in your smallness, because I need to somehow have leverage over you. And that becomes kind of an act of emotional violence to me. So it's that punisher, it's the controller, but it's also people that are afraid for someone to really change. And how do you change inside of that that perception of you?
Right.
That's difficult to change.
Do you find that it's easier? I just know some people in my life, it's easier to put the blame on somebody else than to actually take ownership and look at ourselves and be like, I really need to change that. For instance, if you don't have somebody that's a good communicator, it's easier to say, well, I don't communicate well because you do this.
Yeah, well, I don't have to be responsible because I can blame you for something. I don't have to do my work or really be accountable because I'm going to make it all about you. And so I'm going to be your victim. That's when they're saying I'm the victim of you. So that's what I'm talking about, is that dynamic. You have to break up that parent-child dynamic, that victim-villain dynamic. And that's when I have people separate. Like I just say, you need to pull apart somehow. And whether it's in a business or a personal relationship, that dynamic breaks up when the routine is disrupted. You have to have a different perception of each other. Without a new perception, a present time perception. We all have past perceptions. I know you. You've done this. This is who you are. How about starting over with each other? So when you pull back, slow down, you live into a new perception with each other. You can believe that they can be newly redesigning themselves, and so can you. And that's the real work we're doing, is having people, again, stop the blame game. What's your story? That's your story. That's not necessarily the truth anymore. Like, who are you going to generate yourself as in the face of your past?
Right.
This is maybe done for you, not to you. So when you reinvent yourself in this dynamic, you look and see how you really want to be perceived and how you perceive yourself. Perception is really critical. And then you don't tolerate someone, holding you in your smallness. You don't react. Like, you look at them and say, I got it, thanks for sharing. And nothing to say about that.
I would say the bottom line for me is, how do you want to feel?
Yeah.
So if you want to feel like you're the one that's right, and it costs, an argument and hurt feelings, but you've proven yourself right, then I think it's time to take a step back and think, do I really feel better being right knowing that I hurt that person? Or do I really feel better being right knowing that that's how the conversation went and ended?
Yeah.
So, as much as we want other people to change, we have to decide, how is it in the long run? How is it that I'm going to feel? Because if I feel like I want to show love and I want to be supportive and loving of whoever this person is or situation is, then I'm automatically going to adjust me. If my motive is I need to prove you wrong and me right, somebody's going to get hurt.
Yes. And that's the energy of competition. Like, I need to win. And look, if you're defeating your partner, is it really smart to be living with someone who feels defeated all the time?
Yeah.
So this is where we want to look at ourselves. And so, for example, what am I working on? Well, people that have a temper issue. I haven't lost my temper this week. I actually walked away from. Those are the measurements you can start looking at as you continue to start over every day.
Yeah.
You're never. It's never wrong. It's just I'm going to pull back. I'm going to regroup and start over.
Yeah. So if you find yourself in a situation where you feel past feelings coming up or habits,
Angers.
Yep, things are escalating.
Yeah.
That's literally what Camille's talking about. You stop what you're doing, and you think to yourself, like, how is this going to turn out?
Yeah.
Is it more important for me to respond like I always have, or is it more important for me to feel good?
Yeah.
And while some people may say, well, I feel good when I'm right, it's not necessarily true, because you will find yourself alone.
Yes.
Because generally people don't want to be around. They can't support that kind of behavior.
It's not sustainable.
It's just like this wife of 15 years.
Yeah.
After a while, I'm sorry, it's just human nature that you're going to go, tap out, I'm done. I
and
can't.
she is. She's quiet.
Yeah.
She doesn't even talk anymore because it doesn't matter what she says. He's right. She's wrong.
Right. Yeah. And so, I mean, is that the relationship you want? Is that the control that you want to have? Is that how you want it to be with your children or with your employees or whoever it is? What is the relationship you're creating? Because to be right doesn't mean you're happy.
No. No, it just gives a false sense of I'm in control. Yeah. Which, again, what's that about, right? That's where you got to look at if you need that so badly, what is it you feel so out of control about inside?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, we hope that this has made some sense to you. If you guys would like to work with us one-on-one with coaching or team building, if you have a company or even corporate speaking, this is what we do. We certainly love, Camille has her individual clients, and then we have clients together.
Yes.
So you've been doing this for
33
years. 33 years. Yeah, and I've just been living life.
You've been doing this too.
I've been living life, and I'm like, yep, I can relate to that. So anyway, we appreciate you guys being here. We look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you. Bye now.
Bye.